Hello friends, it's Dylan Young here, developer advocate at Sitecore. And today I'll be joined by my good friend and colleague Ahmed Elyamany, who works with product marketing. We are both focused on Engagement Cloud, and today we will be providing a first look into Sitecore Connect. Sitecore Connect is Sitecore's new integration automation tooling to help customers with a low-code or no-code integration platform as a service, or something known as iPaaS, to integrate Sitecore with thousands of MarTech systems. Today, Ahmed will start off by providing an overview of what Engagement Cloud is and how Sitecore Connect fits into that picture. And then I'll wrap up with a use case scenario using a CRM system, Hubspot, to show how to take a contact and send that off to Sitecore CDP. So let's go ahead and get started. So before we begin to dig too deep into this topic, I first wanted to set the stage for what we'll be talking about today. Ahmed will begin by discussing what the Engagement Cloud is and how Sitecore Connect fits into that. Then we'll get into what Sitecore Connect is and how it meets the demands of our customers. Once that has been taken care of, then I'll conclude today's topic by providing a demonstration of Sitecore Connect. In this case, I will be connecting it with a CRM system. In this case, I'll be using Hubspot, and then we'll be connecting it to our Sitecore Customer Data Platform, Sitecore CDP. So with all that being said, let us get started with Ahmed explaining what the Engagement Cloud is.
So I'll start by a short introduction to the Engagement Cloud itself. And as we all know, inside Sitecore, currently we have three main clouds: Content Cloud, Engagement Cloud, and Commerce Cloud. We go to the market with a strong Content Cloud proposition, including our XM Cloud, Content Hub, etc. But what really differentiates us from the others is our capability to manage the experience, manage a customer's experience, how to position that content to generate the maximum value it can do with our clients, and that happens through the Engagement Cloud, the solution that we provide with our Engagement Cloud. How does that happen? So in today's business world, customers and enterprises need to shorten the journey between content and the value and the impact of that content. And to get that happening, they need a fully integration between their online and offline channels. So basically, they publish content, for example, and then they easily can measure the impact of that content on their clients. They can build long integration scenarios, etc. So that's the basic need. So they can leverage all the data that they have. They can leverage all the content that they have in the best ways possible. But when we go to the real case, the real life, it's usually harder than the theoretical view that we just looked at. It's when you try to implement these kinds of ideas into clients' workplaces, you are faced with a lot of challenges, and you'd see a lot of silos word mentioned in this slide. So you see data silos, for example, data silos where like the data is sitting on different platforms, different technologies. Connecting between platforms is challenging. To build a connector or to build an integration layer between different platforms takes a lot of time, effort, and maintaining time and effort as well. Also, the solutions set in different MarTech silos. So you'll see some data saying in CRM systems, some of them are in the content management, content hub systems, digital asset management platforms. And all of these systems are built through using different technologies. They integrate even through different authentication capabilities. So that all of that puts a lot of puts a lot of challenges when our clients try to create and build this kind of end-to-end connected experience for their users. So this is ignites, this is what's behind the philosophy of our Engagement Cloud. It's like the main purpose we go to the market, or the main objective, or the main story headline that we go to the market with, is that we have a list of products that can bring your data closer to the customers and can bring your content closer to its value, closer to generating revenue for your organization. This is a high-level overview of all the products that currently sit in the Engagement Cloud. So up to the couple of months ago, before the symposium, we had Personalize, CDP, and Send. But today we are talking about Sitecore Connect. the latest joiner to this group. Basically, it's a white labeled version of a product, a platform as a service product called Workato, one of the top players in the integration world. So they agreed with us. We had an agreement with them to utilize their platform, build connectors to our Sitecore products, leverage their platform, and offer it to our customers under the name of Sitecore Connect. Currently, I move to the next section, which is our official proposition messaging. These slides usually focus on the differentiators or the values of our product. What are the main benefits our clients get when they are using our platform? So with Sitecore Connect, our customer, they can secure their connectivity to their current and today's applications and software in-house in use. And also they can guarantee a future-proof integration strategy. How does that happen? So it's because it's a platform as a service, always maintainable and continuously developed platform. So if they're, for example, utilizing one version of one platform and that version gets changed tomorrow, or one of the APIs change it, the connectors and the scenarios that connects their platforms together consecutively updated, so they don't struggle updating their connections between the different platforms. That's why we say it's a future-proof platform. Basically, we offer it as a way to connect our Sitecore platform solutions, starting from content cloud solutions, XM Cloud, to our engagement cloud solutions like CDP, Send, etc., to the external world solutions through different connections and out-of-the-box available connections inside Sitecore Connect. It's a low-code, no-code platform that connects your ecosystem by just drag and drop steps, so you can configure with a slight technical knowledge or no technical knowledge. You can configure integration scenarios between the platforms. You can leverage thousands of already made connections, as we mentioned, and you can connect your already martech stack in place with Sitecore products. What else lies in the benefits and differentiations of Sitecore Connect? So as we said, this drag and drop UI is allowed through a UI canvas, that one that is displayed on the right here. So you can either utilize one of the current scenarios, and from now on, I'll call these integration scenarios recipes, and this is the terminology used for describing how to create integration scenario between the application. Recipes. So you go to that canvas, you drag and drop components, integration points, actions, connectors, and trigger that connection scenario, which is a recipe. So you can have different recipes of integrations. These recipes can start from scratch, so you can build your own recipes, or you can utilize hundreds of already made recipes and build on them. Inside Sitecore, we are planning to provide out-of-the-box recipes for all of our products to cover the main use cases and scenarios to integrate our products with external world, for example. So the way basically the main proposition, or the way we are looking at it, is we want to give access to our clients to this large ecosystem integration platform, instead of giving them a one-time capability to build an integration between two platforms. We want them to own their integrations. We want to give them an integration workbench. This is how we propose it, integration workbench, so they can own their own integrations. Like if they change partners, for example, they don't have to struggle to onboard the new partner and technical team to start working with the connections that they already built, because they already own these integrations. And definitely the main differentiator for Sitecore Connect, that it's the cost and time efficiency. So it can save time, it can save technical effort, it can save maintaining effort, because the connectors are maintained for you. You can create the connections and the scenarios and the recipes through drag and drop, easy accessible components. So all of that saves you time, saves you resources when you start building integrations between platforms. So that was what's inside Sitecore Connect from marketing point of view, from benefits point of view. So next time I'm trying to go through some of the terminologies inside the platform, how it builds connections, for example. What are the main components that you will use when you create integrations between different platforms? So to go again and reiterate, Sitecore Connect is a white labeled Workato instance. So from now on, it's going to be a Sitecore Connect instance. When you have a subscription as a customer to that platform as a service application, you can integrate thousands of applications and build integration use cases. So because it's fully cloud platform and have a high performance and this low code, no code integration canvas that gives you a what you see, what you get capability to drag and drop and build your integrations. You have a lot of flexibility integrating Sitecore platform products and build multiples and endless scenarios and recipes of integrating Sitecore products with your already in place platforms. Just to highlight here, and they claim that with Workato, the customers are able to create integrations at least 5 times faster the speed of typical integration platforms. But definitely, because it's cloud native, high performance metrics built for scale and speed, the ease of use of that platform makes that available. As we highlighted, this is a software as a service platform. It includes over thousands of integrations and already current out-of-the-box connections to different software as a service platforms. You can go to the platform today and search yourself. Also, as we mentioned, it's powered by a large community. So the community itself, they themselves are continuously adding integration scenarios, which is integration recipes, for their different software as a service application. I'll talk now about recipes, triggers, connections on a brief. So firstly, I'll be talking about recipes. So we've been talking about these connection scenarios, integration scenarios between the platform. And these integration scenarios, as we highlighted, are called recipes inside Sitecore Connect. So every time you want to integrate or automate complex workflow between platforms with different conditions, so all of that can happen through this drag and drop tooling here, where you can build your recipes. The next terminology is triggers. And triggers are the first step to get a recipe working, to fire, to get it starting. So trigger is what gets a connection or this recipe start making the calls to different platforms and start grabbing and sharing data. And these triggers define what the events listen to in order to execute the action described in the recipe. There are many types of triggers categorized by either on the screen here, mechanism, dispatch, or event type. Bold will be normal API integration, for example, so you can call the recipe to get it working, to get it running. Real time, that will be through what's called data hooks. So your API, your connections, your integration recipe will be listening to some events on your platform, and once that change happens, automatically it will fire and get some integration done for you. Schedules is an easy to use as a scheduler component inside Sitecore Connect, and it runs basically on a schedule. If we categorize events through dispatch way, so either dispatch is either fire single scenario, fire single recipe connection to be running, or it can create a batch or bulk of recipe jobs, so they can simultaneously work at the same time. Or they can be categorized by the event type. So based on if it's listening to your platform, for example, based on data created, updated, or deleted, the integration can be fired and start working. So now we talked about recipes, and the first step of recipe is triggers. The next term inside Sitecore Connect is connections. So we begin building recipes by connecting our solution. So after the trigger, we create the connection of our recipe with the desired or needed software as a service applications that we will talk with. And for each application we connect with, typically we need an authorized access to connect with these applications inside our recipe. So Sitecore Connect allow different authorization modes, the ones stated on the screen here. So you can utilize either one of these out-of-the-box integration or authentication ways, or you can build your custom authentication scenario. To know how to do this, you can refer back to documentation docs.workato.com. And I'm just showing you the recipe builder. So we talked about recipe, we talked about connections, and we talked about triggers. Recipe builder is where you bring all of these things together and you can control them. So in the left side here, you see a visual canvas for building recipe workflows. On the right side, you can see how the window that you can use to configure triggers and actions for our recipes. Also the dashboards. So From the navigational bar inside Sitecore Connect, you can see real-time details about the recipes and connections in each account and their performance. You can see trend across time. So you can find, for example, if there is an outlier or something that went wrong at a certain time, so you can go back to that point and decide on what exactly happened. There are four components on this screen here, just that one on the screen on the top left side, you see the jobs graph. This is filterable, so it gives you a big view on the recipe status. And then just under this recipe status, you can see a table view, detailed table view. So it breaks down by the jobs inside each recipe. So for each, when you run a recipe, it breaks down into jobs. So every time it makes a connection, grabs data, or any of these steps, this is defined as a job. And then you can track the status of these jobs inside each of these recipes. On the top right side, you can see your subscription plan details, basically. So stuff like renewal dates for your subscription. And because this is a generic overview, high-level dashboard, gives you details on any change that happened to connections during the last 7 days. So you can see that on the on the bottom right corner of the screen here. There is detailed job reports as we highlighted, and as we just mentioned. So for each recipe, there are different jobs that are either planned to run or currently running. So you can go there and review the status of these jobs. This report is customizable, so you can rename, remove columns, add columns, or edit the headlines. So you can make it more accessible for business decision makers, so they can or technical users, so they can get most of the data that they need from these platforms. So to this, I believe we covered lots of high-level ground around Sitecore Connect. But if you like to learn more about the platform and how to create or test recipes and connections yourself, you might go to the documentation website. I'll even share these links before, and they go on different levels from basic to intermediary to advanced. So if you in the sales business levels are just like me, you are strongly recommended to take at least the first one on the basics. This goes through the windows, how to use the platform, how to navigate the dashboards and create recipes, etc. And then starting from intermediary to advanced, this would be more for designers and developers who intend to build connections for Sitecore Connect.
Thank you, Ahmed. That concludes his high-level overview of Sitecore Connect. And now we'll jump into a quick demo of the product. So we're going to be starting out with logging into Sitecore Connect, which we've already done. And then we're going to be creating a new recipe. This recipe takes two connectors, one being a pre-existing connector for Workato, which is HubSpot CRM. So basically somebody is added to our CRM system, in this case, a kind of a test environment for the HubSpot CRM. A new contact is added, and as soon as that's done, within a short period of time, our recipe would fire and then add that user to Sitecore CDP. So it mimics a scenario where you might have a form. That form submits and sends data off to your CRM system, and then when that form sends that off to the CRM system, then that data can then funnel into CDP, which then could be used for web experiences that you're trying to create. So where we're at right now is I've already logged into the Sitecore Connect environment, and I have created a project with specific folders that are specific to what I'm trying to create. So I've done some prep already. I actually tested out this demonstration before doing the video, and then now I'm working inside intro video demo. And so inside this, now we can set up the connections, and we can set up our recipe. And so you can separate the different projects that you might have. You might have different teams on inside your company where they might have their own goals of what they're trying to achieve. So this kind of allows you to kind of separate things. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start out by creating connections. You could actually create the recipe first and then create the connections as you're defining those connectors. You can create connections for them at the same time, but I think it's a little easier just to create those connections first. So once you click on that option, you'll see an option to add new connections. And this is a list of all the connectors that are available, and there's a lot. But we're going to start with Hubspot. So once we have that, we actually have already defined one. Like I said, we had one. I had a prep folder. So this is why this one's called my second Hubspot account. We could have used that same connector or connection that we had. You can specify scopes as well. So you could limit this connection that we're going to create, but I'm not going to do that for this video. Or I don't have a specific use case for why I would want to do that. So I'm not going to. And then once we click that connect option, then it brings up another thing doing OAuth authentication, and we can select the accounts that we want to use for this connection. Now, if we had lots of different accounts, it would make sense to have a lot of different connections because you'd have to have different, you'd have potentially different types of apps that are in HubSpot. So now that we've created that connection, now we can use this for our connector for HubSpot. So we'll come back to that in a second. We'll go back to the project in the folder that we have defined. You can see our connection for our connector there. And then I will create another connection. This one will be for Sitecore CDP. So Sitecore CDP, and we will use this demo REST one. This is one I've actually created for this demo video. There will be a bunch of connectors for all the Sitecore products as part of Connect. You won't have to go and create your own. That doesn't make sense. So what I'm going to do here is I need to specify a username and password. So if we go back over to our CDP instance, which I actually already have open, you can get your API key and API token from API Access. And this client key is your username. So you paste that in. And then the API token is your password. In this case of this connector, that is a custom built one. So this won't necessarily be the way it's configured for the out of the box ones. And then you just specify a base URL. This is for the region of CDP. So if you had a US one, which is what is the case here with what I'm setting up, you'd specify API-us.boxever.com. Or you could also use new engage URLs, which I don't have handy right in front of me right now. So I'll just connect to that. And now it says we're connected, connection established. And so we have the connections we need to do our recipe. Say never to that. So it's simple to create new recipes. We just click on new recipe. There are other ways to create recipes. You can clone existing recipes, etc., which I'm not going to cover today. So I'll just call this demo recipe CDP. And I'll just leave the location so you can organize these in a folder, a project level or folder level for a project as you see fit. And then each of our recipes has a way to trigger it. So in our case, we're going to trigger from an app, which will be HubSpot in this case, our CRM that we are creating. So once you get to this screen, there's a lot of things I'll walk through here in a second, but I'm going to start out by selecting the app for our trigger. This will be HubSpot, as I previously mentioned. And then you have a bunch of options of what kind of things might trigger this recipe for firing. So I'm going to do a new contact. So a new contact is added, and within a certain amount of time, 30 minutes, it will then cause that trigger to return true, essentially, and there will be a contact attached to this, and then it will go through the actions underneath. And we're going to select the second HubSpot. Technically, it doesn't matter because both are the same. And then we're going to define a few things. We're going to define the properties that are going to be passed through. We don't actually have to select anything here. And in that case, we're going to get back everything. But I think it's a little easier to specify properties. But these are all settings very specific to HubSpot, I should also note. But in this case, I'm just going to select some values, some things I want to see as properties. I'm going to want name, so first name and last name, company name as well, even though I don't have a field necessarily for that inside CDP as of right now, but you could create custom guest data extensions for CDP that are specific to some of these fields that are coming over. So if you want Twitter username and that was something that you're collecting in your CRM system and you want to to then have the ability to use that for something in a web experience that you're going to use later on inside CDP, then you could select this and then pass it through and just make sure you pass it as a guest data extension value. And I'm going to need email for sure. I need gender. We could also get phone numbers. I'll just do those real quick. And so, yeah, that's good. I'll just go ahead and save this real quick, our changes. And then once we have that, we can save that and that's done. And now we can say what happens next. So the next thing I want to do is I want to trigger another action of an app. In this case, I'm going to do CDP. I'm going to do this demo one. I'm going to select the third Sitecore CDP demo REST API connection that I already specified. Now, because I've custom built this one, this custom connector, it doesn't quite behave as easily. It doesn't provide a kind of a no-code scenario. It provides kind of just a low-code scenario where you have to do some additional work that's a little bit more painful than just selecting a new contact has been added. But like I said, as part of Sitecore Connect is to provide connectors out of the box so you don't have to go through this process. So we're just going to post new CDP profile, whatever you want to call it. We're going to do a post. We're going to do a path of HTTPS API US boxever.com/v2/email or /guests. And then we have JSON request body. That's the type of request that we're going to do. Response type of JSON. None of these values matter. What we really need to focus on is building in how this data would be posted to this endpoint that we're calling the V2 guest. We're posting data to CDP. So how does that data need to be structured? And we have the ability to pass in the values that are coming back from our Hubspot environment. We can use those variables to then pass through to our CDP instance. So we don't have to hard code anything. We will in this case because we want certain values to be hard coded. But so let's just look. The input is where we specify the schema. We could use JSON to specify a schema if we did want to, or we could add fields manually. That's the option I'm actually going to go with. And then I am going to specify a bunch of different fields. Do first name first. Is it optional? Sure, why not? We'll do another field, last name. It's also optional. We will do another field of email. This one is probably the more important one. We'll make that not optional. Add. We'll add a language. And optional is no. Yeah, that's right. We will specify, so guest type is the guest type that we're going to store this out as inside CDP. In this case, we're going to pass in, it's optional as no because we're going to hard code that value. And we could add more. We could add gender like we pulled that as a property over here on the left, but I'm not going to go to those lengths. But if you were setting this up, then you could set up more of this. So then we open up this data tab, and now we have the ability to specify variables if we wanted to, or what they call data pills, where we can add these data pills, which are kind of like variables. So if we, for example, specify a first name, what this represents is the data that we got back from HubSpot. It's now passed to this connector that we have, and now we can use the value from that first trigger in this data pill that represents first name. So in a lot of cases, that's what we're going to do. There's actually another way to specify this. You can come over here. This shows you all the data that's kind of passing through. So if we wanted to we needed the is contact for some reason or profile URL, then we could also pass those over. But you could also find email here and you can drag these over. Or let's say you wanted to combine these for some reason. I don't like that. But you could combine two fields together to make one field. And the other part I'd like to mention is that you don't have to pass in a data field. You can hard code these values, and that's what we're going to do for this, because we want to say that these are always going to be the same type of guest type in the same type of language. Now, if you wanted to make it a little bit more custom, we could do something like that. And I'll get to that in a second. So I'll just go ahead and save that. I think that's all we need for that. And then let's go back over. We can shrink this down, or we can change how it looks. But there's other things you can do with this kind of canvas. You could add additional actions in front. Let's say we want an if condition where we wanted to verify that the email field has been filled out. We could add a condition here, and then if yes, then we could move this up. We could move this to kind of take over that spot. And then if no, it could fail, for example. And then yes, it succeeds, and then we can go that way. Another thing is you can add a stop job at the bottom, and then you can give it in the job report a specific status of successful or failed. So if for some reason you had to set up a kind of conditional here, and the email is not provided, you could then return a stop job of failed instead of successful, and go from there and do additional things from that. I don't really care for this this if, so I am going to remove it. And basically we have what we have here, and so it's pretty much ready to go. I'll save this real quick, and then I will enter test mode. So test mode allows you to test this out. Now, as of right now, there is no new contacts in our HubSpot CRM. So that's the next step for this, to test this out. So I will go over to my CRM system that I have. This is a very kind of demo-esque environment that I've set up. I'm using the free trial for CRM, and I'm just going to create a new contact. So I am going to use Ahmed as a guinea pig here. And so I've already used him as a guinea pig in the past. He doesn't have a US phone number. I guess I could attempt to fill in a UK number, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to make up a number and do done. I could put in a lead status. This isn't funneling over into our CDP instance right now, but let's just go ahead and press create. And so now you see Ahmed in there. So let's go over and navigate back to our demo instance, our Sitecore Connect environment, and you'll see that it hasn't really triggered anything yet. That's because this waits until it hits 28 minutes or 28 minutes past every 30 minutes. Essentially, it fires and doesn't ever check for performance reasons. And so it doesn't automatically pick it up. So to do an automatic pickup, I just do a check now. It looks like I have an error here. So I think I know what I did wrong here. So let's go back to the recipe real quick. And it didn't like the guest type. So I must have, I think it has to be customer, not customers. So I'll just make that change. I'll save it. And then I will go get this out of the way. I'll go back to test jobs, and you can actually repeat a job. And now it's succeeding. So basically that was the issue. I just put an S when I didn't mean to. It's great for demo purposes to show how that works and how it's easy to rerun the test and then work on your recipe until it succeeds, basically. So now that that's happened, let's go over back to our CDP instance. We'll go to customer data, guests, and now we should see Ahmed's submission, which happened a minute ago. He's a customer, and you can see his data has made it into our CRM or into our CDP instance. And you can see the values. It doesn't know the gender, but it knows that it's a customer, his name, that his preferred language is English, and his email address. And like I said, you could have custom data extensions would allow you to bring in more CRM data if you wanted to. So that concludes today's video. Hopefully that shows kind of hopefully Ahmed and myself were able to show what Sitecore Connect is all about and some of the great things that it unlocks for your organization. So I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care and goodbye.